The first question I asked is just, what made you decide to trust a random stranger to save your marriage?
Well, let me back up one step to what's caused me to even look.
Hmm.
Um, my I've been married for 20 years. We just had our 20-year wedding anniversary not long ago,
Congratulations.
last week. Thank you. And my wife decided to take a trip, and she decided to drive. She drove from Cincinnati, Ohio to Phoenix, Arizona, which is a couple thousand miles one way. And she was going out there to visit her daughter, she hadn't seen in a while. And she's a school bus driver, so she gets summers off.
Okay.
And so she had plenty of time to do it. So she went out there, everything was fine. And on the 4th of July, I got the bomb email that she was wondering after 20 years of marriage, why is she still in this marriage? And she was questioning a lot of things. And essentially, it was a very long, detailed email. It kind of summarized pretty much everything I had done wrong, said wrong, a lot of arguments that we had had over the last 20 years,
Yeah.
um, and things that I thought were long since dead, buried, and gone away, kind of came back to life. And I mean, she was really seriously upset and genuinely wondering if she wanted to stay in the marriage or not. Um, so she's out there. I reached out to her immediately and she didn't want to talk. She said, I want to talk. Whenever we talk, it never goes well. Um, don't want any communication. So I just started looking around on the web, realistically, and I found your YouTube channel on the web. I watched a lot of your videos. I found some other stuff out there too. Um, and a couple of chords that struck with me from everybody, yourself included, was when they need space, give them space. Don't chase them. Give them space. Let them have whatever space they need. Um, want her, but don't need her. Right?
Yeah.
Sound familiar? So uh, I just said, okay. Uh, I ultimately decided to go with your program. There was two I was really looking at. There was another one that was very faith-based. And I'm a Christian man. I'm an elder at my church, so that kind of struck a chord with me. So I started really exploring the two programs simultaneously, yours and the other one. And I think the thing that kind of turned me off on the other one was it felt artificial. The
Mm.
faith portion of it didn't feel real.
Mm.
Um, because everything was, hey brother, how you doing, brother? We need you, brother. And I was just like, it didn't feel genuine.
Too in your face about it, it sounds like.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And um, and then the other thing, and I don't know if I read this or if I heard it on one of your videos, but somewhere I got the flavor that a lot of yours was tailored around people who are very successful businessmen, but for whatever reason, were having a hard time keeping their home life together. And at that point in time, that kind of fit me. I retired end of 2024, vice president of sales, 43-year, very successful career. And it was like, things were good, but I wasn't able to keep my home life together. So
Right.
all of those things combined kind of steered me your direction. The cost wasn't an issue for me at that stage of the game. That was, I mean, it's always important, but that was really a moot point at that stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Okay. So she did this trip, and then with that distance, she dropped the bomb on you. And what was your initial response wasn't to beg or do all the problems that a lot of guys do. It was actually to search online. Is that correct?
yeah, well, my initial response was I wrote her a very detailed response, bullet point by bullet point, addressing all of her concerns, if
Got
you
it.
will.
Got it.
But something told me not to send it.
Mm.
And I didn't. And that's when I started looking around online and I discovered that don't chase her, don't try to push back, let her have her space.
Yeah.
And you were real heavy on that even on your YouTube videos as well.
Yeah,
So
and yeah, the reason why that is right is because like even if you address everything logically, right, in that emotional space, it wouldn't have probably landed right. So that was good on you to use your intuition around that. And so, how long ago was that, by the way?
July 4th.
Okay, July, yeah, you said that July 4th. Yeah, so okay,
Yep. Yep.
wow. Cool. So that's and then actually, I usually jump to the end, see where things are at now, but I'm kind of curious what happened after that.
Sure. So, um, yeah, I maintained radio silence for the most part. What I did was she would text me.
Mhm.
And when she texted, I would respond, but I never reached out to her. I never initiated the conversation. And I would respond very cordially, and that was kind of it. And she would text me probably at least once a day.
Yeah.
And sometimes she would just text me and say, "Hey, how's your day going?" Right.
Mm.
So what it told me was she still wants this to work. She's
Yeah.
still communicating. She's still reaching out. I just have to make sure that I don't push her. I don't chase
Yeah.
her. Yep.
Yeah.
So translation, she was out there for about 3 weeks. Where this went after that, um, she finally came home, and she told me, she said, I was very, very scared and apprehensive about coming home because she was afraid I was just going to blow up on her. Um,
Yeah.
and that was one of the things that she complained about in her message was anger issues. And, me responding in anger to her getting anger and not staying in my frame, so to speak. Um, so when she came home, she had taken her wedding ring off. And I had explained to her, I didn't tell her the name of the program, or I didn't tell her what I had got involved in, but I told her it's focused specifically on helping married guys that are in the exact same boat that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I said, "Are you supportive of that?" Because I wanted to make sure she was. And she said, "Yeah, if it'll make you better, I'm all for it." So it worked out. We were in the same house. This is where I was different from a lot of the guys in the program. We weren't separated physically. We're still living in the same house. We're still sleeping in the same bed. We're still eating meals together. We're still communicating, which all worked in my favor, obviously. And I just started, as I worked my way through the modules, I started applying, a lot of the principles that you talked about. And the biggest one being staying in my frame and not responding emotionally when she would have emotional issues, and staying calm and logical. And we were probably 3 weeks, maybe a month into the program. Oh, and she told me when she took her wedding ring off, she said, "I'm going to keep this off. You have to earn it to get it back."
Mm.
I said, "Okay." Challenge accepted. Fair enough. And we went out to dinner with another couple about a month or so into the program. And I didn't even notice. We sat down, we got there early, we are waiting on the other couple. And she just said, "Hey, look, I put my wedding ring back on because I see the efforts that you're making. I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm seeing changes in you already." And I was overcome with emotion. I mean, we're sitting in the middle of this restaurant. I'm trying to fight back the tears because I was so emotional about it because I wasn't expecting it. It totally caught me off guard. Um, so, anyways, from there
So
to now,
just to
yeah,
clarify,
that's
she put the wedding ring back on after a month of your work.
yeah,
Wow.
she did.
Um, that wasn't the
Yep.
end of the journey, obviously. So let's jump forward now, Doug, to where you're at now. Like, so what are some of the biggest wins that you've had right now, where you guys are at, and then we'll kind of go through the lessons.
I think the biggest win is I think I've regained her trust.
Mm.
Um, we I approached her about having the crucial critical conversation, and she said, "No, we don't. We're good. We're good."
What?
Again, not what I was expecting. A good answer. I was okay with it, but not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Um, so where we are now, and again, some of this comes back to us being a religious and a Christian home.
Yeah.
One of the things that has really helped us is we've started doing a daily devotional
Mhm.
study together.
Mhm.
Every night after dinner, we sit down and we found there's a plethora of stuff out there. We found a devotional book on Amazon, ordered it, works really good. It's a short read. It only takes like 10 minutes to read it. We take turns reading. And then we talk about the lessons, and it's targeted at married people who are trying to strengthen their marriage and their walk with Christ. So it's a great communication channel for us. It keeps us strong. It keeps us communicating. I also initiated a thing with her I call a weekly check-in. Once a week on Thursdays, I say, "Hey, it's been a week. How am I doing? Where are we at?" Right? I don't want things to fester if they're bothering you now. And so I'm trying to be, again, proactive in heading off any problems. So,
So that's essentially the leadership, right? The masculine leadership that we talk about in the program, right? And that constant check-in is what a lot of guys honestly kind of lost with their marriages, right? They like go through the motions of the kids and the job and everything else, and they just like don't check in with wife. It's always about logic, right? And about
right.
And so actually checking in with the relationship, that and having a cadence around that, it's a consistent cadence, it shows your leadership, it shows your attunement to her, and kind of like you are the steward of the relationship, right? The one taking care of it and leading it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Where did you come up with that idea?
I just thought of it. I just thought it'd be a good thing to do. Um, because a lot of the things that she had wrote in the letter to me were festering items that had been there for a long time that I thought were resolved, and in
Yeah.
her mind they were not resolved. So I didn't want to recreate that.
Hmm. Wow. So how do you know the trust has come back? You said that was your biggest one. What was the sign of that has come back?
She told me.
Oh, she told you verbally, hey, my trust has come back.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the biggest sign for me.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of little things, she didn't second guess me on things anymore. She took me at my word for things. Just, little signs that reinforce the verbiage.
Yeah, so I mean, those signs that you just listed right there, that's that she's kind of falling into her feminine because you're going into your masculine, right? That's the leadership, so she follows that. Beautiful.
Right.
So, what is one of you mentioned a couple things already, but what is one of the core lessons within the program that helps you get to where you're at now?
Oh boy, there was a lot. And I did come prepared. I actually
Oh,
made
I love
notes.
that. I love that.
Um, but I think first was I had to take ownership and responsibility for the things that I had done in the past that had hurt her.
Yeah.
I think that was something that she needed to hear. That was something that she was looking for. Um, because, and you've mentioned it yourself, just to expound on it, men think logically. I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. Okay. So, yeah, I've spent my whole education life and my working career, solving problems logically. Um, so unplugging from that and getting more plugged into the emotional side of it and understanding what her thought process is. And a big part of that was just taking responsibility for, hey, I know I screwed up. I know I didn't respond well to this. I know I need to change how I react. So I think that was big. Um, I mentioned the staying in my frame.
Can I pause on the emotion,
Yeah.
the ownership first, and then we'll go to the frame. I love frame. So, what gets in a lot of guys' ways with the ownership is because like when it comes to ownership, it's a perspective, right? It's not like a factual thing. Like you had your behavior, she had her behavior that led to the result. What stops a lot of guys from taking 100% ownership is the fact that she also did things, that she's not a perfect human being. So how did you kind of displace that and say, no, I'm just going to look at my own behavior? How did you step into that?
So what I said was, this is a journey. I'm not going to get there overnight. And, I appreciate the trust that you put in me and allowing me to go down this journey, but I'm going to also need your patience because I'm not going to get there right away. I'm not going to be perfect. And
Hmm.
I'm still going to stumble. I'm still going to trip up every once in a while. And when I do, let's talk about it. Let's
So
talk about it.
I mean, I call that humility, right? I mean, like it's the opposite of having this big ego and displacing everything and like, well, you did this. And is that something that you grew up with, or is that something that maybe your faith taught you, or
I'd say it's probably a combination of that. I grew up in a very religious, very Christian household. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, humility is, I know you have some Christian background, but I picked that up from listening to some of your videos. So some of it was just, it's the teachings of Christ are very humbling. I
yeah,
guess they're all about
sure.
humility. So
Yeah.
I think it was a combination of a couple things. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to reinforce that idea that, having that humility, it makes her feel safe, right? That you're taking responsibility because I mean, it's very logical, but it's more of an intuitive thing, I think, for women that when a man doesn't take full responsibility, she's like, well, he's not going to change then, right? So, framing, tell me how frame played a role. I love frame. It's one of my favorite concepts I teach.
Well, um, the biggest thing for me was realizing, first of all, defining my own frame
Yes.
and understanding what that needs to be from a masculine perspective, as well as just from understanding her emotional responses perspective and
Mm,
making sure that I didn't get sucked into it as well. Um, and that was probably the biggest lesson for me, and the thing I still have to remind myself of is, because it's been a great transformation, but it's still a work in progress. And I still have to remind myself to um, be calm, be empathetic, listen to understand. Don't listen to respond, listen to understand. Um, and then make sure that I remain focused. I'm trying to come up with the right words here, but yeah, I think you kind of understand where I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like defining frame first is there's so many ways to define it, but it's the way you interpret the moment, right? Based on your internal beliefs, right? What's behind the eyes, right? Your beliefs, your perceptions, because like you can have two separate men, two different frames, they receive the same response from their wife, but because one guy he is thinking, oh, it's my responsibility, her anger is actually pain, these different kind of beliefs versus this guy, she's jabbing me, she's attacking me, like I did nothing wrong, completely different visual like beliefs behind the eyes or frame, and they're going to have completely different outputs because of that, right? And so it's important to understand like that your frame are your beliefs, are your perceptions, and a lot of times we shift those within the program. And not having a reactive frame, if we want to do make it a binary process, like there's the guy who's reactive, like she's doing this, so I'm going to defend, I'm going to get logical, I'm going to do all this stuff, right? Versus the other guy who's calm and attentive and holds his frame, right? Keeps it
Right.
stable. If you think of a stable frame, she can feel safe with a stable frame, right? And that's what ultimately what strength is. And that's another form of your masculinity that lets her feel kind of relaxed. So, was there one belief or were there a couple beliefs around relationships or around her behavior or something that you shifted in your frame that led to the results that you can think of?
I think just remaining calm,
Yeah.
and not it's not and this is funny, and you talked about it several times, and I heard the same thing from her too. And I
Mm,
don't think it was until I heard it from both of you that it maybe
got it.
connected. I don't know, but her tone was something that she would say to me all the time. Your tone. And
Mm,
and she would ask me something, or maybe there was a question about something, and according to her, I would just snap. I would snap a response that sounded condescending and nasty to her. And I didn't hear myself doing that. To
yeah.
me, in my mind, all I did was answer your question.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're actually touching on something that I don't think I've ever really gone deep on, which is super important. And I think a lot of times when that pattern between you and your wife has been so habitual over the years that you probably learned these patterns before your wife. Maybe you saw it with your parents or early relationships before your marriage or whatever it is, that it's so automatic that you honestly don't see it.
Mhm.
Right. And that's the beauty of like actually pausing and reflecting on yourself and being like, okay, well, am I? Right. And then like, and catching yourself in that moment and being like, that was actually a little sarcastic. Yeah. I guess I am a little bit upset. And that's emotional intelligence, right? Of being like truly understanding your emotions, which a lot of guys, if they're in a very logical state of mind, if they're, an engineer their whole life, they haven't taught themselves to actually analyze their emotions and be aware of them. And so, yeah, staying calm and understanding these like subconscious little nonverbal reactions are super important, especially from a woman because she can so sense these little things that so many guys aren't even aware of. So that's beautiful that you were able to recognize that in yourself.
Yeah, and you talked about tests a lot.
Mm,
She'll throw a test at you,
yep.
and I had a test that came my way, and it didn't expect. This one just caught me off guard. And it's something really little. It was a very simple thing. Literally, we've been outside working. We came in. We were both hungry, and she said, I'll make us a couple of sandwiches. Perfect. Sounds great to me. And she likes white bread. I like grain bread, right? So she goes to the loaf of grain bread and she says, "Oh, looks like this loaf is bad. We didn't eat it fast enough. We're going to have to pick another bread." And instead of saying, "Oh, okay," I got up, I walked over, and I physically checked the bread for myself, right? And her reaction was, "What? You don't trust me?" And it was like right at that moment, I was like, just said these were going to come, and there's one right there. Yeah, it was just one of those little test moments, right? I've learned to not react that way now. I've learned to
Yeah.
be more trusting and take her word for things and not question. So even if I don't think she's right, I've learned to just not push back so hard.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how you responded in that moment, but we talk about one of the best ways to respond to a test is with humor, right? So when you can take those moments of like her putting out like on a platter, like how are you going to respond? Are you going to get reactive and defensive and whatever, or are you going to use this as a moment of connection? And if you can respond with humor, whatever you say in those moments, that just shows that you're taking yourself not so seriously. And again, goes back to emotional safety. She can feel safe with you that you're like, because the thing is, ultimately, Doug, is I was thinking about this yesterday. When it comes to tests, it's like if you crumble to her words, whether this is actually real or not, in her perception, if you crumble to her words, how can she trust that you'll pass the test of the world and keep her safe from these outside external things that happen, right? Um, so yeah, that's beautiful, and it's funny that right when you said the whole wedding ring, she literally the first big test that was so overt is like, hey, here's the ring. Like I'm gonna put it back on if you show you. That is one of the most overt tests I've ever heard, ever. You know what I mean? She literally told you verbatim, hey, you have a chance to get this back, but you're gonna have to prove yourself. That's like that is a test, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember me hearing the quote. I probably said it 4 or 5 times across the whole program, but it's from David Data. I'm not going to say it verbatim, but it's around the idea that a woman, you're either celebrating with your woman, connecting with her, or you're getting tested. It's never in between. It's one of the two. So, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned something else too that I wanted to hit on about her feeling safe. Um, I picked that up early on in the modules, and that was actually a phrase I used with her early on in our conversations, our weekly check-ins. I said, I realize that this has not been a safe space for you to express your feelings and emotions, and I'm going to change that because I want you to feel that it's a safe space. And she actually got teared up and It's like, oh man, I got on a good note with that one. She knew that I was serious about it, and it really touched off a spot where it was very emotional for her.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. One question I have for you that a lot of guys, when they first come to the program, they struggle with this. And so I want to know how your process of getting into it was. So there's the idea of joining this program for multiple different reasons, right? The guys who have the least success are like, I'm going to do this because for the kids, right? Which is not bad motivation. Then I'm going to do it for my wife because she's my soulmate, she's my love of my life, best friend, whatever. But the best reason is I'm going to do this for myself or for God, right? Like I'm going to become a better man. And so we talk about like the process versus the outcome. A lot of guys come in, I'm here for the outcome. I'm here to save my marriage, which is not a bad motivation, but the best motivation that keeps you going, makes her feel safe is like, I'm doing it for myself. How did you make that shift? Was that already there when you joined the program? Or was it for yourself? Or was there things that happened that allowed you to feel like, no, I need to do this more for me?
Yeah, it when I first came in, it was with full intentions of I got to do this to save my marriage, right? That's
Mm,
why I came in.
yep.
And then as I worked my way through the modules in the program, I did realize that, hey, this is not just for her that I'm doing this for. In the long run, this will make me a better person. It'll make me a better husband. It'll make me a better elder at the church. It'll just make me a better person all the way around. And as we got not very far into the program, I actually told her that. I told her that, look, I'm doing this for me. I'm working on me. I can't fix you, but I can fix me. It's up to you. And she responded very positively and said, yeah, and it's up to me to fix me.
Mm,
So I view that as okay. That's a good spot. We're in a good spot if she's got that mindset. Um, but yeah, I think it was just early to answer your question. It was just early on in the modules as I walked through them, I saw the value of doing it for myself and that it would make me a better person in the long run. So that's truly something I attribute to you and the program kind of changed that mindset for me.
I mean, I give you all the credit. I kind of just show you guys this like map and you go on the whole journey yourself, fight all the dragons and, internal
Well,
being.
and I realize every guy has a different journey, right? Because we all start from different starting points and we're all at different spots. And we have kids, we have 6 kids, but they're all grown and gone. They're out of our hair. So they were never a factor in this
Mm,
from that perspective. And one other thing I'll share with you, and I shared this with Linda, my coach, and I think she really appreciated it. It wasn't just my relationship with my wife that started to change. It was
mm,
my relationship with other people that started to change.
yeah.
As I mentioned, I'm an elder at my church. And as I went through this program, I had other men come up to me at church and say, hey, I don't know what's going on with you, but you just seem to take this huge level in wisdom. You've taken this jump in wisdom. And if you don't mind, I have a few things in my life that I'd like to talk to you about if you've got some time to spend with me one on one. And so I ended up, I've got actually 4 guys now that I meet with different times throughout the week. And it's not anything complex. It's just they saw changes in me and they liked what they saw, so they reached out to me for help. That's kind of the ultimate testament, really, I think, to my transition as well as to the program you've put together.
Wow. I mean, people coming to you from your for your guidance, yeah, the ultimate sign that you've had such a transformation. That would be it, right? One of the last questions I like to ask Doug is kind of an interesting one. It's if you can jump in a time machine and we can go back and maybe a year, maybe two, before you joined this program, and things were she was getting upset, you weren't even aware of it. What's one piece of advice you would give yourself that he needed to hear in that moment?
Learn to listen.
Learn to listen.
Learn to listen to understand. Don't just listen to respond.
Hmm. In those moments, I want to break this down because that's great advice, but I want to see what that actually looks like. So when she's sitting there talking to you, what is the difference between listening to respond versus listening to understand? Like what's going on differently inside of you?
When I just listen to respond, you don't really listen. I didn't. You think of, oh, okay, what's my rebuttal to that going to be? What's my rebuttal to this going to be? Oh yeah, I've got three different points that proves that's not correct.
Yeah.
Um, and when I'm listening to understand, I'm really trying to absorb the message that she's trying to convey to me, how it's making her feel, why it's making her feel that way, and what I did to cause it.
Yeah. I mean, that alone, like, and I'll expand on why that's so powerful is because when you're listening to respond, your attention is inside your own head instead of on her, and she can feel that, right? Like, and that creates a disconnect, right? Because like when your intention's on her, she feels the connection. Like if you stare at her in the eyes, not saying a word, and your mind is blank, it's like you're meditating just on her eyes. That soul level connection is what she craves. It's so vulnerable, but it's what she craves, right? And when you're in your head trying to like get an outcome, again, outcome versus process again, you're trying to get an outcome of like, I need to make her feel this way or whatever it is. She feels that like she calls that control. Women call that control, essentially. And so yeah, listening to I mean, there's so much more depth, and you say it so simply, but it's there's so much depth to that process. That's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. Is there any questions you have for me that anything you want to talk about?
I don't.
Yeah,
I want to expand one more on the listening
sure.
to. So I actually took that, and the way our church is structured is, and being an elder, about once every 6 weeks, I have to get up and do a communion meditation. And you get up, you're on stage in front of all 300 people in the church, microphone, blah blah blah. And I actually applied that lesson to a communion message, and talked about the politically charged society that we live in. And if you're just listening to respond to someone and not listening to understand, you're going to shut them down. They're never going to be open to God's will, and they're never going to be soft. And so it was a real life lesson that translated into a lot of other areas I could use it for.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
Doug,
Uh,
thank you so much for your time and sharing this story with me.
My pleasure. Again, it's an honor to meet you. I feel like I know you. I've watched all your videos. I've learned about your parents' divorce and how it affected your life and all those things. So, and I love that because it makes you real and it makes you very connectable as a person. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that feedback. It means a lot. Awesome. Well, have an amazing day. If you have any questions, if you have any follow-up questions or anything you want to ask.
Good deal. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.